NavEasy security installation is quite a simple process. There's two parts of NavEasy security. If you're installing both, you should install the login and permissions first, because some of it can be reused in the installation of field level and data security. Basically, we need to download the latest version. We need to import the objects. We create a new company to save the data in. Then we run the installation wizard, copy all existing security into our tables, and then we will import our data and do an initial publish of our application in here. To download the application, you'll find it on mergetool.com's website. You can go to the download tab and you'll find the latest version of NavEasy security. Be aware there's also something called light version, so always download the right file. If you want to know more about the changes, you can actually look at the history page and it will show you what has been done in here. But basically I will download the zip file with the latest version in here. After downloading the file, all the content can be extracted. And there's a folder inside, and for each version of NAV there's objects. There's no modified objects inside the Easy Security solution, so all you have to do is, depending on the executable, you import the proper code in here. I'll be using 2017, and I'll import the code in here. There's two files in here, and one of them will only be imported initially in here. But let's open up the development environment and run this import. So I will open up my database. And I will then import the objects. 2017. There's two files in here, and the one with the version number is the main objects. It's all new objects except for one object that potentially can be used by other ISVs in here. The menu suite, we use 1052, and that one could be used by other ISVs. But in this case I don't have any objects in here. So I'll import and add these objects in here. The second file, it's important to import that only the first time. These ones are objects that the installation for field level and data security will actually modify, and it's only 4 code units, but those ones should only be imported the first time in here. After importing all the objects, you can filter on all the things starting with ES in the version list, and all of those ones should be able to compile in here. So all of them compiled. If the menu suite that we imported, the 1052 in here, was already in use, additional one is available in here. So in this folder additional menu suite, there is a FOB file in here. And if I open it, I won't import any of them, but I can see the other options. There's 9 more menu suites. If one of them is available, you could go ahead and import that one, but never import all of them. And this one should only be imported if there's a conflict with the normal menu suite. There is no reason to import it in the normal case as I have in here. If I now go to NAV, I will have to reconnect, select my server again, and it should now show that I have a group Easy Security in here. If Easy Security don't show up, it could very well be that a license is missing, and a license is required that have access to our application before even the group would show up in here. To run the installation wizard part, I will create another data. We want to separate the data for security from the data for rest of the NAV financial application. So we typically create a new company in here, and I will call this one Easy Security in here. And now switch to the new company. Go to my Easy Security and the login and permissions part. To launch the installation wizard, all you have to do is open up the security setup in here. As the security setup is being created for the first time, it will ask what level you want, and the company where you keep all the security data in will be a complete setup. If you want to do recording and launching objects, there's an option to do a very simple setup in here. But I will go in and say yes to Initialize a Complete Setup. The only thing that is required in here is to be able to import a text file. Else, everything else is defaults in here. The text file of the objects is used for a source code analysis in here. And you have to export that from the development environment in here. A normal customer license don't allow export of text in here. So if I actually use this one, that will be a Kronos license, and I try export, I will see that I'm actually getting a permission error in here, of course. So and it has to be text format in here. So I don't have access to that one in here. I will then switch to a partner license and open up my database again and go export my objects to text in here. One of the things, even with partner licenses, is not all objects that is available sometime to export, or if as a customer license you have access to export in text, not all objects is available in here. It is an option to actually, based on the license, be able to filter on the objects. And if you try lock all the objects, you will only get a lock on the object you actually have an ability to export or edit in here. And that means you can now filter on only the locked one. In my case, my license allows access to everything. So I would see that everything out here basically get locked in here, except this menu suite in here, because I can't edit the Microsoft menu suite out here. But I can now go and filter for all the ones that are locked in here. And in that way, I will be able to export all the one my license allow me in here. So I will now save all the objects in text in here. So my text file has now been exported, and if I take a look at it, I will see that it's 130 megabytes out here with all the code. I can then go in my source code file name and select that file in here. One of the things, most of the things in Easy Security is actually being moved from the client computer to the service tier. This is such a large file that upload is not possible in most cases. So the service tier actually needs to be able to access this file. I'm running directly on the service tier computer here, and it's the best approach for actually running the install process. Then you can save it in a local folder, and the service tier will be able to open up the files. Else you will see an error that sometimes that the service tier don't have access to the file. Then you would need to find a location or run this directly from the service tier. But as I start this one, we create 2 new profiles. We also will create a restore point that will be an initial snapshot of the current data in the security system, and we will actually move that into the tables in Easy Security. After that, we're scanning the source code file. We're getting relations from there. Both table relation, flow fields, fact boxes, and many other things. We're using that as you will record permission or work with security in general. both for lookup and also for improving recordings in there. All the existing data is now being pushed into the nav easy security tables, and the permission sets are being moved in there. It's also building both quick security and object level security based on the defaults, and all that one is done after the setup in here completed. So with the wizard finished in here, in the comments box out here, it's actually possible to see that we will have a line down here saying finish setup. So it's possible you can see anything in here. There's nothing to change really in the setup. It's all defaulted with the right value. If you have new objects in the future, you can select the text file, and then you can actually get relations from source code in here, again in here. There's several pieces of data we actually deliver with easy security in here, and they are delivered as text files. We have permission sets, we have summary calculations, and we have some groups. The first thing I want to do is import the permission sets. And this one is quite a large amount of data in here, so it takes a little time to import. But all these permission sets are based on recordings. They work all the way from 2009 to 2017 and will be maintained going forward also. So as next version of NAV is released, we will update them. And with another import function we have, we can actually merge the customer's current version of these permission sets with the new one we are shipping, and in that way enable a customer to use our permission sets going forward. We suggest to use these as much as possible. They're all focused on a single task, so they can easily be combined together at that point. We also have permission groups that we ship. They are for the part about segregation of duties. They may be not exactly what a customer would need, but they are a good example of how you could actually build your security based on these groups in here. And the important part is that the spreadsheet we deliver, you can look at all the permission sets. And the second tab has a mapping where, based on the task in the system, you can actually then select the type of person or job, what they should actually have access to. And all that one was actually imported as part of this data in here. We also deliver permission groups for quick security, because to use quick security you need 3 permission sets in here. So if I actually take a look at one of them we imported, we can log in, we have object access, and we have the data level access that you want with quick security. But there's more videos about this one. But these groups are nice also to have in here. The last part is what we call summary calculations. And a summary calculation is a way to look across multiple summary permissions and be able to find abilities for people in here. And again, there's a file we can import, and that has several summary calculations that can be used as the examples in here. With all this data being imported, if I actually now go look at a login, and I would update the login, I would see my summary results out here. But basically the last part of all this is to do an initial publish in here. We haven't done any changes to existing data. We just copied it into easy security, but we added a lot of new permission sets in here. And writing these permission sets back to NAV is going to be a little time consuming. The main part is that the changelog is actually active in NAV for all the security tables. So writing a new permission record takes some time in here. But you'll see at the end where I will start writing. Right now it's just doing calculations in here. We will always create restore points so we can roll back. And now we'll do a final test, and then it will start writing the permissions into the normal NAV table. The new permission has now been published, and if I would look at the normal table, I would see all the permission sets which E underscore would be published. We actually have a screen where we look at this data, and one of the things you can look at is actually the changelog entries. And this one is standard NAV, but because we added this one, I'll be able to see that this permission set was created in the regular NAV data at this time and date by this user in here. Same thing goes for the other entries for the individual permissions, or even for live users, we will be able to look at the same level of changes in here also. But that finished the installation of login and permissions. It's a few steps that it takes to go through this one, and some processes to run in here.